You're listening to the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. My name is Arya Whitner, and this is the NXT update for Wednesday, August 30th, 2017. We are returning to Full Sail. Before beginning, I do want to send my best wishes to everyone in Houston and all along the Gulf Coast who are being affected by Hurricane Harvey. This really sucks, and I hope, if you're one of the people who are displaced by this, I hope everything works out for you, and I wish you nothing but the best. NXT this week began with Sanity laying unconscious outside the building. Mr. Eagle looked quite angry as he stared the night sky down. No truth to the rumor that after the cameras cut away, the night sky tapped out, because who wants to piss off William Regal, right? Inside the arena, we kick off with our 11th and brand new NXT champion, Drew McIntyre, returning to the ring for the first time since winning the championship. The fans were respectful, but wasn't as over-the-top giddy as you've had for prior title changes. Drew said that all the bumps, bruises, and sacrifices were worth it for this moment. He understands that he has a huge target on his back and turns his attention to Adam Cole, Bobby Fish, and Kyle O'Reilly. He put them on notice and said this is Drew McIntyre's world now, and if they want a shot at the champ, all they need to do is walk down to the ring, look him in the eye, and ask for a fight. This brought out not Cole, Fish, or O'Reilly, but Roderick Strong. Strong came out to congratulate him and said he doesn't care about Cole, he only cares about himself, his family, and the championship. Strong vowed to defeat Bobby Roode later tonight, and after that, Strong was stepping up and challenging him as a man. McIntyre said that he wanted to be challenged like a man, and now he hopes Strong is ready to get knocked out like a man. We get a replay of last week's Bobby Roode interview where he said he has unfinished business on NXT. He vows that after he beats Roderick Strong, he will get his NXT championship back and take it with him to SmackDown Live. Next week, we will be joined by the undefeated, undisputed NXT Women's Champion of the World, Asuka, where she will quote-unquote update us on her status. I wonder what she is going to say. This seems like such a vague thing to talk about. I'll save my rant for next week. So, we get some in-ring action to kick things off here finally. Ruby Riott one-on-one with Peyton Royce. I forgot to mention, but at some point in the last few months, Royce let the dye out of her hair and is now back to being what I assume is her natural hair color, which is black. So now she looks more like her BFF Billie Kay than she did before. This feud is a part of the non-stop ongoing feud that the Iconic duo have with pretty much every woman on the roster who they feel is not glamorous enough for them. If you recall, about a month ago, Royce and Kay were doing a makeup tutorial when Ruby Riott randomly walked by, which caused them to mock Riott. That led to a match where Ruby Riott defeated Billie Kay, and Royce claiming that Riott will never be iconic. And that brings us to today for this one-on-one encounter. Royce took over by snapping Riott off the top rope. She threw her out of the ring, which actually led to the biggest reaction of the match up until the finish, where the crowd started buzzing over the idea of Billie Kay interfering, which, you don't see that often. After commercial, Riott made her comeback, which didn't get the same reaction it normally did. Riott ended up being up on the middle rope, but Royce hit a spin kick to the head and a rolling Death Valley driver, which was not the finish. Riott hit a powerbomb for a near fall. The Iconic duo had enough. They're going to walk out and take the count-out loss. but Riot hits a suicide dive onto both of them. The referee tried to regain control, but behind his back, Billie Kay kicked Ruby Riot's head off, rolled her back in the ring, and Peyton Royce picked up the win with a fisherman suplex. Mr. Eagle was backstage and said that this thing where people are being laid out will not keep happening. Cassius Ohno came in and said he wanted a no disqualification match with Hideo Itami next week. Regal agreed to it. And I want to mention that Ohno was wearing a shirt of Mitsuharu Misawa giving Stan Hansen an elbow strike, which just looked really cool. And actually, if you Google Mitsuharu Misawa giving Stan Hansen an elbow strike, you get the picture that was on the front of Ohno's shirt. Heavy Machinery returns to NXT for the first time since losing to the Authors of Pain at the end of June. And they took on the tag team of Edwin Negron and Tavian Awil, names that were so absurd that I had to rewind a couple times and turn on closed captioning just to get their names right. But here are Heavy Machinery back at the beginning and facing the Jobber Tag Team of the Week. Neither Awil nor Negron had any success by themselves, and somehow fared even worse when they tried a double team, and Heavy Machinery picked up the win with the compactor. We got a recap of Lars Sullivan destroying No Way Jose last week. This led to Mr. Eagle informing Lars that actions have consequences, and since over the past 6 months or so, Lars has beaten up 3 different tag team partners. Next week, Lars will have a 3-on-1 handicap match. Lars just shook his head and walked off. In addition to that match and the aforementioned Ohno Itami no DQ match, next week Andrade Cien Almas will finally look to gain revenge on Cesar Bononi for their upset from like 5-6 months ago at this point. He holds a grudge, folks. Finally, main event time. Roderick Strong versus the former and glorious NXT heavyweight champion of the world, Bobby Roode. In what might be his final match on the yellow brand, Bobby Roode took only a brisk 1 minute 42 seconds to get to the ring. At the bell, Roode told Strong that he's a failure and this will always be Bobby Roode's NXT. Roode went to wave his arms around to shout glorious, but got shoved down on his ass, and it was on, playa. This match was a little rough at the start, but once they settled down, they had their typical good match. Roode kept looking for ways to get reprieves early on, but no matter what he did, Strong would somehow turn into a backbreaker. This led to them squaring off on the ring apron, which, by the way, is the hardest part of the ring, and Roode shoving his foe first into the ring post and then the ring steps. Strong still refused to stay down, so Roode laid him out with a spine buster on the pretty black mats. Back in the ring, Roode hit his own backbreaker, which allowed him to finally do his glorious pose. Strong started his comeback with a pop-up gut check, then used a butterfly suplex into a powerbomb, and when Roode kicked out of that, Strong fluently turned it into the Boston Crab. Roode got out of that one and hit a TKO into an Ace Crusher. They ended up fighting up the ropes as Strong used a top rope superplex for a 2 count. Roode finally hit his glorious DDT, but Strong rolled close enough to the ropes to get his foot on before the pinfall. That, by the way, did play off their title... That played off their title match when Strong had the title won with a sick kick, but Roode barely got his foot on the ropes. Roode screamed at Strong, so Roddy hit 3 consecutive jumping knees to the jaw. Finally, Strong blew Roode a kiss goodbye and picked up the win with a suplex into a backbreaker. Roderick Strong, yes folks, has finally defeated Bobby Roode. Drew McIntyre came out to stand on the ramp and accept Strong's challenge when he was attacked from out of nowhere by Adam Cole, Bobby Fish, and Kyle O'Reilly. Cole laid out McIntyre with a DDT on the ramp and punched several security guards in the face. Finally, Mr. Regal showed up, and they went running into the night as Regal stared them down. So that brings the show to an end, but before I finish, I just want to bring up one point. Now, this may end up being like the time Samoa Joe ran out of the arena into a waiting car where he had someone driving him off, and then it never got brought up again who was driving Samoa Joe's car. However, during this entire beatdown on Drew McIntyre on the ramp, Roderick Strong didn't even make a move to try to stop it. So that does it for this week. I want to thank you all for listening, and I'll talk to you again in 7 days.